All right, getting into everyone's favorite objection. Haha, being sarcastic. Spouse. Excuse me. This is the one everyone hates. Okay. I'm going to give you guys four options here. All right. I also want to say that everything I'm giving you guys is stuff that I have used. I'm not going to give you stuff that I have not used or hasn't worked for me. Now, and if I do, I'm going to give that person credit. There is one objection here that I do use somebody else's framework, and I do give that person credit. But with the spouse, these are the things that have worked for me. Okay. Now, tonality is really important. So we're going to go over option one now. Option one is the one that I use the most. This is the one that has worked for me the most. Tonality is really important in this one. Okay. Nonchalant is the vibe that we are going for. Just like we did with the budget exercise, giving that nonchalant vibe, right? With this, we want to also follow the same tonality there. Okay. So let's do it. So they hit you with the spouse objection. You're gonna say, "Hey, totally get that you want to talk to your spouse." I say this, so I'm pausing. So I say this, but I kind of scripted it out. And the reason I scripted it out different is I know not everyone's going to be married, but this is what I say. So I say, "Hey, totally get that you want to talk to your spouse. We're not in the business of divorce here. I'm married here as well." And look, I do this all the time. But what you could do, you can go ahead and turn the camera off. You can put me on mute. You can go and have a conversation with your spouse. Don't worry about me. I got some admin work that can keep me busy in the meantime. And when you guys come back, we can have a discussion. If it's a go, great. If it's not, no pressure at all. Does that sound fair to you? So that's how I would say it. All right, it's very nonchalant. Now, I said it a little bit different than how I scripted it. So let's go ahead. Excuse me. Really losing my voice already in this module. That just means I'm going all out. If you're not losing your voice, you're not going all out. All right, so let's just read it how I have it written here. Okay, so totally get you wanting to talk to your spouse. Agree with them. We believe in family values over here. And look, I do this all the time, but you can go ahead and turn your camera off, put me on mute, go chat with your husband, go chat with your spouse. Don't worry about me. I got some admin work that can keep me busy. When you come back, if it's a yes, we could chat about next steps. If it's a no, then I can send you guys home with some helpful resources. Does that sound fair? Nonchalant, 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 nonchalant. Okay, that's what we're looking for. All right, if they say no to this, then here's what you're going to say. Okay, you're going to say, "Hey, no worries, I get it. Cool if I ask you a couple questions though?" They say yes. They're going to say, "Sweet. So when you do go to speak to your spouse, which of these concerns are you guys going to discuss? Is it going to be about the program and if the program can help you reach your goal? Is it going to be about if you have time for the program now that you've seen anything or seen everything? Is it going to be about fear, imposter syndrome around if you can actually reach this goal? Or is it going to be about the finances?" All right. And I would just list them out and then let them answer. All right. Now, here's the reason why I do that. The reason why I do that is because there is a lot of times that you get the spouse objection, but they just use that one as a front. All right, they use it as a front. They actually don't have to talk to their spouse. There's really something behind that they're afraid to admit. All right, so when I ask this, "Hey, when you go to talk to your spouse, which of these concerns are you guys going to discuss?" When they tell me the concern, now I know what the real objection is. All right, and as I've said here, at that point, you've isolated the concern. If it's the program, you know how to solve the program already. If it's time, you know how to solve time already. If it's fear, you're going to know how to solve fear because that's later in the module, right? If it's finances, you know how to solve finances already, right? So basically, we've isolated it, then we can solve it, and then we can ask for the commitment. All right. Now, from here, you might say, "Chad, I don't know if people are going to do that." If you use the tonality right, people are going to do it. And I promise you, if they do go to do it and have that conversation, you have about a 50% chance that you are going to close the deal. All right. That's what I've noticed is if they go to have the conversation, it's 50-50. You just increased your odds pretty significantly that you might close this deal. All right, so this is the one that I use the most consistently. I'm going to go through it one more time because I really want to hammer home the nonchalant vibe. Hey, totally get that you want to speak to your spouse. Look, I'm married as well, not in the business of divorce here. Why don't we just go ahead and do this? You could turn the camera off. You can put me on mute. You can go and chat with your spouse. Don't worry about me. I got some admin work that can keep me busy in the meantime. When you guys come back, if it's a yes, we can go through next steps. If it's a no, no pressure at all. Does that sound fair? That's how I would say it. Cool. All right, let's move on to number two. Okay, number two is a little bit more tactful, more strategic. It's not as easy to remember. It's a little bit more complex, but it's very powerful. Hold on, guys. I got to take a sip of water. The reason it's powerful, I'm already losing my. This is very fitting. I'm actually happy that I'm losing my voice in this module because this is the module that I should be losing my voice in because I'm freaking going hard. All right. So, spouse and partner objection number two. Like I said, a little bit more tactful, but I love this one because you do get a lot of information. Okay. And that information, as you see, or as you will see at the end, is going to give you leverage to close this deal. All right. So they say they got to talk to their spouse. You're going to say, hey, totally get that you want to talk to your spouse. We believe in family values over here. Or you could do the I'm married to one. Cool if I ask you a couple questions, though? All right. Agree? Cool if I ask you questions. They say yes. All right. Then you're going to say, awesome. So, hey, tell me a little bit more about, how involved they've been in this process. Like, what kind of conversations have you guys had? I'm keeping this open-ended in general on purpose because I want as much information as possible. The more specific the question, the more specific the answer. The more general the question, the more general the answer. Okay. Now, if they say that they have not been involved, I want to know why. All right. Because there is an argument to say, this isn't always true, but there's an argument to say that if they haven't involved them in the process, that maybe they actually don't need to be involved at all. Now, that's not always true. Sometimes they're not involved in the process because they don't have a good marriage or a good relationship. But there is an argument to be said that the opposite, what I said previously, is true as well. So if they told me, I just haven't really involved them yet, I would say, oh, okay, that's interesting. Why haven't you gotten them involved? Okay, so I would ask that question there. Why? Because, I want that information. All right. Now, regardless of their answer to question one, I'm going to ask question two. All right. So question two, I'm going to acknowledge whatever they say. And then I'm going to say, have you guys had conversations about, how reaching whatever their goal is could positively impact your marriage and your family? Right? Have you guys had conversations about how losing these 50 pounds could, positively impact your marriage and your family? All right. Now, let's go ahead and break this down. So, if they said there's been no involvement, so if they said no to question number one, all right, but they have discussed the goal, meaning that the couple has discussed the goal, right? Then from there, I can actually go for the close. All right, and here's how we would do it. I would say, hey, that's amazing that you guys believe that losing these 100 pounds could positively impact your marriage and your family. Do you believe that you could be successful? Like husband aside, wife aside, do you believe that you could be successful? Right? They say yes. And I say, great. And does your spouse trust your judgment? Yes, my spouse trusts my judgment. Cool. And 12 months from now, if you lost these 100 pounds, would he be upset that you committed today? Right? No, he probably wouldn't be upset. Then great. Are we committing to this once and for all? Right? And you go for the close. Okay. So once again, this is where, like I said, this one's a little bit more tactful, right? It requires a lot of repetition because there's a lot of moving parts. But if they said that the husband is or the wife has not been involved, but they have had discussions about the goal, you have enough to go for the close, right? And you could just follow this framework here. It's amazing that you guys have talked about how losing this 100 pounds can, impact your marriage. Do your spouse aside, do you believe that you could be successful with this goal? I do. Great. And does your spouse trust your judgment? He does. Great. In 12 months from now, if you lost these 100 pounds, would he be upset if you committed today? No, he wouldn't. Then great. What are we doing? Let's go ahead and commit and make him happy. Right? Boom. Close the deal. All right. Now, let's go back because, like I said, context matters here. Let's say that they said yes, that the person is involved. Yes, they have had discussions of the goal. All right, then we're going to keep asking questions. We're going to keep digging here. So the next question would be, have you guys talked about your struggles in losing these 100 pounds? And, what did those conversations look like? Right? So have more open discussion, more fishing for information here. Okay, next question would be, and how much have you guys discussed, seeking mentorship towards losing these 100 pounds? Has that been a part of the conversation? Now, assuming they say yes, okay, then we go for the close. All right. So if it's a yes to everything, yes to involvement, yes to goal, yes to challenges, yes to, we've talked about mentorship. You have enough information to go for the close, okay? So at this point, I would say, awesome. Well, hey, do I have permission to challenge you here? They're going to say yes. Sorry, I got to take another sip of water. They're going to say yes. You're going to say, amazing. Well, hey, I appreciate that. So look, your spouse has been involved in the process. You guys have discussed how reaching your goal can impact your marriage and your family. They know that you're struggling to reach this goal, and you guys have already talked about seeking mentorship. It seems to me that they're in full support of you losing these 100 pounds. Wouldn't you agree that committing to this would actually make your partner happy for you? Right? So using all the yeses that we just got, stacking the case in our favor, leverage is on our side, right? They've already had the conversation with their spouse. What other conversation does this person need to have? Right? Wouldn't you agree that committing to this would make your partner happy for you? Okay. Gonna get a yes. All right. When you get a yes, you're gonna say, awesome. Then hey, what are we waiting for? Let's commit, reach this goal, lose these 100 pounds once and for all. Right? You get a yes there, you close the deal. Okay. Now, if they say they still need to talk to them, right? So you're still getting the objection. I still need to talk to them. At any point, you can go for the go talk to them right now approach, right? Which is what we went over in the previous option, right? Which is like, oh, don't worry about me, turn your camera off, blah, blah, blah. Okay. At any point, you can do that. Right, you can even do that if you don't want to go for the close this way, right? You could even do that after this, right? Have you guys discussed seeking mentorship? You get yeses to everything. You can even pitch going to talk to them right then and there if you feel more comfortable doing that, right? Even if they say no to this, no, we haven't discussed mentorship, right? You can also go ahead and pitch them having that conversation right then and there as well. All right, so that's spouse objection option number 2. All right, let's go through option number 3. All right, so option number 3, if they bring up multiple objections throughout the process, it may not be spouse. So if they say spouse, excuse me, if they say spouse, but then they say think about it, then they say money, right? They're all over the map. They're giving you a lot of different objections. From here, we just need to isolate what the real objection is. Okay, so I would actually take them through the I need to think about it framework, right? Which we haven't gone through yet. We're going to go through that later on. But I would ask those 4 questions, see what the objection is, and then handle it from there. All right. And you will get that sometimes. Usually when the spouse objection is bullshit, there's other objections that they give you, right? They say spouse, then they say think about it, then they say this, right? Usually spouse objection at that point is obsolete. It's bullshit. Okay. Now, well, actually, the I don't have time objection is the next video. All right, the last one here. I contemplated not putting this in here, but as you get more and more experienced in sales, I have found this to be true and it has worked for me. So let's go ahead and break it down. So sometimes I actually will believe them. I actually will believe that they legitimately have to talk to their spouse, and that if I push any further, that I'm actually going to push them, excuse me, that I'm going to push them away. All right, so let's just read this word for word. Sometimes I actually will end the call and let them talk to their spouse. This skill takes time. And by time, I mean thousands of calls. All right. And eventually you're going to build this intuition that will tell you if they're lying or if they're telling you the truth in terms of talking to their spouse. Now, I don't do this for everybody. If I had to put a percentage on it, it's probably 10% or less than 10%. Okay. Only the people that I can tell that if I push too hard, I'm actually going to push them away. All right. For this category of people, usually 10%, then I'll follow this process. All right. I'm going to go over that in just a second. All right. But usually I will pitch the, hey, go speak to them now thing. Right. But for this category of person, where I know like if I push, I'm gonna push this person away. They're gonna say that I'm, too pushy of a salesperson and I'm not gonna close them. I'm actually going to trust them. And when I give them that trust, in return, they give me that trust and I close the deal. This has happened to me a bunch of times. All right. So here's what I'll do. All right. Tell them, it's not a problem if they need to speak to their spouse. Schedule a follow-up call, usually the sooner the better, and I will invite the spouse to be on that follow-up call. From there, I'm going to send information that they can bring back to their spouse Usually that information is my slideshow, my slide presentation, and the recorded call. So the call that I just recorded with their spouse, I will send that to them. This way they can see that I treated their spouse with respect. And also they can hear all the things that you just said to their spouse. They can hear that as well. All right, and then I might spend a couple of minutes coaching the spouse on how to approach their spouse, right? Because usually what they'll do is they'll just say, "Hey, I met this person on the internet. They want me to pay $5,000 for the program." Right? The spouse, any smart spouse would say, "Yeah, you're not fucking doing that." Okay, but if you coach them on how to approach it, right, then you might get a different response. And how I would coach them to do it is by saying, "Hey, honey, excuse me, throat is going out again. I've been struggling with XYZ. I really feel like it's been affecting my life in XYZ way. I really want to reach this goal. And I found this program, and I really feel that this program is the solution. And honestly, I would love your support in making this happen." Right. So that's the framework of the conversation, which I summarized here. All right. So those are the 4 different ways that I've successfully handled the spouse objection.